With the permission of the chair, Professor Prakash Chand, Professor and Chairperson, Center for the Study of Law and Governance, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India. I hereby welcome all the participants who are currently present here and who will be presenting their papers and giving their insightful message and research outcomes to the conference. So let me give you a brief introduction of the session. The session will be chaired by Professor Prakash Chand, and it will be co-chaired by Professor Indrajit Singh Sodhi, Professor and Head, Department of Public Administration, Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, Shri Peramadur, India. I, Dr. Saurabh Chandra, will be moderating this session. In this session, we will have paper presentations, and after the paper presentations, we will have question and answer sessions, and the session will conclude by the vote of thanks and remarks by the chair, Professor Prakash Chand, sir. So with the permission of the chair, should we begin the session, sir?
Please start.
Okay, it is my great honor and privilege to invite the chair, Professor Prakash Chand, sir, to deliver his address to the session and give a direction to the conference. Sir, the floor is all yours.
So a very warm welcome to all of you, all the experts, all the participants, and I'm very happy to see, particularly I must appreciate Dr. Saurabh, who is the Managing Director of iPoint Foundation, and he has very well organized this 5 days international conference, and the theme is very much relevant to all the research scholars, professionals, students, academicians who love public policy and public administration. I really congratulate Dr. Saurabh, and the theme are very, very relevant, particularly as we know that public administration is very important in many perspectives. Either it is the maintenance of law and order, delivery of public services, and particularly during the emergency period, we all see that public administration plays a very significant role in the absence of an elected government, so that this public administration is called as permanent government. Because in the absence of any elected government, particularly in India, we have seen this between 75, 77, when there was no elected government, public administration played a very significant role in delivery of public goods, services, and people used to get each and everything. Either it was food, sanitation, transportation, everything was being managed very well. So the credit goes to public administration. In the context of India, if you see, since independence, India was a very backward nation, either in the terms of agricultural development or the industrial development. But today, the achievement in the field of industrial development, agricultural development, and we have seen the green revolution, a white revolution, yellow revolution. So this credit goes to public administration. And one another thing is, when India became independent, there was a challenge how to integrate such a diversified country, which had many castes, communities, sects, religions. So today we find that there is a unity and unified nation. The credit goes to just to only public administration. And there was another thing. India was divided into the upper caste and lower caste. Many of the, even majority of the population belongs to the lower sections of society. And as a result of reservation, the constitution provided reservation, but the credit to implement and ensure the rights of the weaker section only goes to public administration. And either it is the field of education, health, sanitation, and particularly we all have seen, and that during the COVID-19 pandemic, during last 2 years, public administration played a very significant role. So I think we all have understood, and even we all know that during the 1990s, it was being said by experts that we do not need, or we need to minimize bureaucracy. And there was a talk of de-bureaucratization, and sometimes there was a lot of frustration among bureaucrats that experts used to talk a lot about the relevance of bureaucracy, whether the bureaucracy is still relevant in the post-liberalization globalization period. But since the 1919, and particularly during the COVID pandemic, the credit to ensure the health facilities goes to the bureaucrats, the bureaucracy, though there are a number of issues, problems, challenges like red tapeism, nepotism, corruption, delay. So this kind of research, this kind of conference will address how to rectify these weaknesses of the bureaucracy, and how to ensure that bureaucracy plays a more uh, dynamic role to serve public interest and to serve public goods and services. So with these remarks, I invite uh, the first speaker of this conference. Thank you, Dr. Saurabh.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful appreciation of the bureaucracy. Your points not only highlighted the significance of the bureaucracy in the past, but also in the era of neoliberalism. With the permission, sir, I would like to invite the co-chair of the session, Professor Indrajit Singh Sodhi, sir, to address the session and give his insights on the topic, new outcomes in public administration and policy research. Sir, the floor is all yours. Sorry, sir, the floor is all yours.
Yes. Now audible. Tell me.
Yes, sir, you have to deliver your address, sir, as a co-chair.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Saurabh. Actually, I received one call, so there was disconnection, some connectivity issue. So this is the third day of the international conference. We are conducting conference on international conference on public policy and administrative research trends 2023. So yesterday session was presented by all the young. There were 5 papers, and day before yesterday, on the day of inauguration, we senior people inaugurated, and all the presenter, that means 8, there were keynote speaker, including Professor Prakash Kanpal. So I was very much happy ki today, third day, I believe ki it will go very well. And no doubt today, as I observed, there are less number of presenters. So you all can get more time, sufficient time. I believe ki you will, all presenter will look into the pertinent issues and emerging trends in public policy as well as public administration. And we talk about when India, definitely India has made a nick in the world. Everyone has recognized India since last 10 years, if you observe. So there have been so many good initiative and development have taken place in India, whether it is a new health policy that was launched in 2018 or new education policy that has been launched in 2020, and number of other policy in the areas of disasters, ICT, all are in pipeline. Not only central government, but almost all the state government from time to time, they have taken very good initiative and they have formulated some good policies in their respective area, depending upon. So I believe that there has been innovation in context of policy that is very much needed. So I congratulate in advance all the paper presenters, and I'm thankful to Chair Professor Prakash Chand as well as Dr. Saurabh Chandra, the main organizer of the conference. With good wishes, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful address and your message to the session. Now, with the permission of the chair, I would like to invite The first speaker, paper presenter of the session, Dr. Asha Lakshmi, BS, Assistant Professor, Department of Public Administration and Public Policy, Central University of Kerala, India, on the topic strengthening administrative research through administrative literacy scale and good governance barometer. Madam, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
With the permission of the chair, I would like to invite her. Madam, the
Please.
floor is all yours. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Saurabh. Am I audible?
Yes, madam, you are audible. Please continue.
Respected chair, co-chair, my fellow panelists, other participants of this international conference. I'm so happy to be part of this conference, this meaningful conference, because we are discussing the innovations in the field of public administration, innovations and research in the field of public policy. In that way, I think we can produce some outcome. I'm anticipating an outcome-oriented conference out of this particular program. Here, I'll be concentrating on the theme, strengthening administrative research through administrative literacy scale and good governance barometer. It's because of my thought that we lack a uniform parameter in order to assess the administration. We have, in fact, different features for good governance. That is, UNDP has given 8 parameters of good governance. World Bank has given 6 parameters for good governance. There are different parameters for good governance. But I strongly feel that we seldom give importance to administrative literacy. We are giving much importance to constitutional literacy. We are giving much importance to health literacy. We are giving much importance to gender literacy. We are giving much importance to legal literacy. But without giving much significance to administrative literacy, we are doing research on administration. We are conducting conferences. We are organizing conferences on administration and public policy. It is, in fact, the degree of administrative literacy that determines the degree of successful implementation of policies or the projects under administration. So under this particular thought, out of this particular thought, actually, I have developed an administrative literacy scale that I'll introduce. And along with this particular administrative literacy scale, I have given emphasis to good governance barometer that was implemented in one of the West African nations, that is Senegal. So I'll go through these two things, how administrative literacy scale and good governance barometer can strengthen administrative research as well as policy research. I'd like to share my screen. Please let me know whether you can see that. Is it visible?
Yes, madam, the screen is visible. It is loading.
Okay.
Yes, now it is visible.
Okay. I hope you can see. Hello, everyone.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, it is
Yeah.
visible.
Oh, okay. So first of all, we must understand what is meant by administrative literacy. It is the capacity to obtain, process, and understand basic information and services from public organizations needed to make appropriate decisions. See, yesterday we had discussion on the maternal health and nutrition. We were discussing the degree of awareness among women, degree of awareness among tribal women with respect to these policies and schemes related to maternal health and nutrition. So in that context, I think Dr. Saurabh has indicated one thing, that is we need policy education. So this is somewhat related to that. So administrative literacy is the capacity to gather information, to collect information that is related to public organization, and based on that information, we can make appropriate decision related to our public services. There are different dimensions of administrative literacy. Functional literacy is related to the bureaucratic language, administrative work procedures, writing and requests, because bureaucratic language is somewhat complicated. I doubt whether a layman can understand the meaning of bureaucratic language. In that way, when we are talking about administrative literacy, we have to have a discussion on how to simplify the bureaucratic language. So the functional literacy is revolving around such things: bureaucratic language, administrative work procedures, and so on. Then communicative literacy, which is giving emphasis to oral and written expression and participation in discussions, that is related to the side of communication. That is the communicative capacity of a citizen. Next is structural literacy, that is related to the organizational structures, literacy related to the organizational structures or administrative structures. Then processual literacy, that is related to the bureaucratic working procedures or process. Then civic literacy, that is related to the relevance of one's own actions for society as a whole. As a citizen, that is very much important. Civic literacy is very much important. How can we contribute to the society? That is very much important. That awareness is shown by civic literacy. Then media literacy, that is related to the processing, understanding, and evaluating information from mass media. Then digital literacy, we know it, how to process the digital information, how to understand the digital information. All these are needed for strengthening administrative literacy, or else we can say that the administrative literacy has these types of dimensions. I have developed 10 indices with respect to administrative literacy. Among the 10 indices, 3 of them are connected to the type of government. Then 1 is related to participation, and the rest, the other 6 indices are related to services. Let me explain. The first index, that is national, that is related to the national government. Here we can check the degree of literacy of an individual related to the institutions, policies, programs, or projects of the national government. Then second is related to the state government. That is the degree of literacy related to the institutions, policies, programs, and projects under the state government. Then next is related to the local government. Like the national and state institutions, we can check the awareness of a citizen related to the institutions, local policies, local programs, and projects. So then local level redressal mechanism, grievance redressal mechanism. So we can check the degree of literacy, degree of awareness of an individual with respect to national level institutions, state level institutions, and local level institutions. Then with respect to some services, that is health service, education service, these are some inevitable services. Health, education, food, housing, water, and electricity, then law and order, disaster management mechanism, then online services. So with respect to health sector or health services, we can check the awareness related to the policies, that is awareness on health policies, the institutions which are providing health facilities, then medical professionals, their understanding on medical professionals, understanding on medical services, understanding on how to redress their grievance. So everything can be put under that particular index, health index. Then next is education, that is awareness related to educational institutions, then policies, right to education, then assessment on the existing system, then grievance redressal mechanism. Then food, housing, water, electricity. Here also we can check the degree of awareness related to the institutions which are providing these services, the policies which are coming under these particular services, then availability of these services, then assessment on the existing system, whether they are comfortable with the existing service delivery mechanism, then how to redress the grievances. Next is law and order. That is, we can check the awareness related to the institutions, officials, then access to law and order mechanism, regulations, then grievance redressal mechanism. Next is very much important, disaster management mechanism. Actually, we have to concentrate much on disaster management. We have to do research, in-depth research with respect to this particular aspect. We can check the awareness of individuals related to institutions, disaster management institutions, disaster management mechanisms, rehabilitation measures, and so on. Then online services. During the lockdown period, we have seen that many people were unaware of accessing online services, even though there were facilities regarding the online health service, then other types of services. People did not have much awareness with respect to how to access online services. So this is very much important, how to access online services. And for that, we need digital literacy. In fact, we need digital literacy in order to access online services. So here we can check the degree of awareness related to accessing online services, then how to use it, then method of accessing online services, then online grievance redressal mechanism, and so on. Then comes the participation. Here we can check whether an individual is interested in participating in the process of governance. For example, whether an individual has participated in social auditing that is being conducted in the platform of Gram Sabha. So if a person is regularly participating in such a platform, we can say that, in fact, that person has very good awareness with respect to participatory governance, because that person might be giving the suggestions, might be giving the feedback, sometimes grievance, everything through that platform. So these are the 10 indices that I have developed with respect to the assessment of administrative literacy. Then I'll elaborate. Here here I am proposing two models with respect to how to assess the administrative literacy. See, first is here we can assess the level of administrative literacy regarding the institutional mechanisms at the national level. In two ways we can ask the question using a 5-point scale. First is model one is, how many of the following policies are you aware of? Some generally here, we should give some generally non-policies like National Health Policy, National Education Policy, National Policy for Women, National Environment Policy, and National Cyber Security Policy. See, we can give 1 point to each policy awareness. In this way, we can assess how many points a respondent gets and how many policies a respondent is aware of. If it is more than 3, there is we can say that there is a fair degree of awareness. Then model 2, that is regarding each policy, we can apply the Likert scale. Through the Likert scale, degrees of opinion can be assessed apart from yes or no response. The degree of their awareness can be assessed. See, for example, how do you rate national health policy? How do you rate your awareness regarding national health policy? So excellent, good, fair, poor, very poor. This is the Likert scale. So here we can consider the responses ranging from fair to excellent for checking different levels of administrative literacy. So if they are marking like they have fair degree of awareness, that is good. Then if it is good, is considerable. Then if it is excellent, we can assume that they have very good knowledge with respect to the awareness on that particular policy. Then in the same manner, we can give the questions related to national institutions. Here also some generally known institutions have to be selected, like Supreme Court of India, Niti Aayog, Indian Space Research Organization, Prime Minister's Office, Reserve Bank of India, and so on. See, we are focusing on not the professionals. We are not focusing on the professionals, but we are focusing on ordinary citizens. That is why we are actually focusing on giving some generally non-institutions. So here also we can use the 3 to 5 points method. If they are getting more than 3 points, that is a good, we can assume that they have very good level of awareness. Similarly, we can find out the institution-specific administrative literacy through Likert scale. This is model number 2. See, for example, how do you rate your understanding on Niti Aayog? That is excellent, good, fair, poor, or very poor. In the same way, we can assess the awareness on state and political level, state and local level institutions, policies, grievance redressal mechanisms, and so on. I have conducted a study on experimental basis among 5 Kudumbashree workers at Ajanur Panchayat in the district of Kasaragod. I think you know what is Kudumbashree. It's actually a women empowerment program. In fact, that was launched under the Poverty Eradication Mission of Government of Kerala. And now it is one of the largest women empowerment programs in the world, Kudumbashree. So on an experimental basis, I have conducted a study among 50 Kudumbashree workers because they have very good social contact. They are more in touch with the people. They are more in touch with the government offices. They are more in touch with the political institutions related to the formulation and implementation of policies. So it's because of such and such reasons I have chosen Kudumbashree workers in order to have an experimental study. So here, total 50 respondents were there. I have given questions like that they had to identify 5 government offices in their locality.
Excuse me, madam. Madam, your slide is not moving.
Oh. Is it moving now?
Not yet.
Here it is moving. I don't know what is happening. It is moving here.
Okay, you may please continue. Maybe some technical flaw that side. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have given the question like they had to identify 5 government offices from their locality. Interestingly, one thing I have noticed, even though they have very good social contact, even though they are interacting with the governance mechanism on daily basis, only 22% of the total respondents could identify exactly 5 government offices in their region, in their locality, exactly with a proper name and then 48% identified 3 government offices. Then 30% identified less than 3 government offices. This was the degree of their awareness related to the government offices. Then I have asked another question regarding the names of 5 government officials. Previously, the question was related to the government offices. Then I asked the question related to the government officials. Here, 18% gave the correct answer. That is exactly they identified 5 government officials. Then 34% identified 3 government officials. Then 48% identified less than 3 government officials with their name and designation. Then further questions were asked to find out their awareness on Kerala Women's Commission. Here, 14% had very good awareness with respect to Kerala Women's Commission. 14% had excellent awareness. 22% of the respondents had good awareness with respect to Kerala Women's Commission. Then 64% had fair degree of awareness. That means most of them had awareness on Kerala Women's Commission because they are actually having interaction with the government offices. They are actually having interaction with the society. They are dealing with the issues of women. So they have very good awareness with respect to Kerala Women's Commission. They know that such a mechanism is existing in the state of Kerala. Such a machinery is there in order to address and redress the issues related to women. Then I have given a specific question. I have asked them the name of the Women's Commission chairperson. So interestingly, only 12% gave the correct answer. 12% had excellent awareness with respect to the name of the Women's Commission chairperson. 8% had good awareness. 10% had fair awareness. Then most of the people did not know exactly the name of the Women's Commission chairperson. Even though they knew that such a mechanism is existing in the state of Kerala, they had very good awareness with respect to such an office, such a mechanism in the state of Kerala, but they did not know exactly the name of the Women's Commission chairperson. This was a focus question. This was a very specific question. So in this way, we can measure the degree of administrative literacy, degree of awareness related to administrative mechanism, administrative procedures, then the offices related to administration, officials who are discharging the responsibilities related to administration. In this way, we can measure the degree of awareness related to policies, institutions, officials, grievance redressal mechanism, and so on. Then I would like to focus on good governance barometer too. So this was introduced in Senegal in 2006. This was developed in 2006 through the joint efforts of multiple development actors. We know that there are different parameters for good governance. Those parameters were given by different agencies. What is the speciality of this good governance barometer? In fact, this good governance barometer is combining both universal criteria and context-specific local indicators. So we know that there are certain universal criteria for good governance like effectiveness, rule of law, accountability, equity, and participation. And what the Senegal model has done, the Senegal model has applied the universal parameters of good governance, and they actually attached some sub-criteria to the universal parameters of good governance. I'll explain. That is 5 universal parameters of good governance were taken: effectiveness, rule of law, accountability, participation, and equity. Under each universal criterion, sub-criteria were given. See, for example, Under effectiveness, 5 sub-criteria were given, like vision and plan, then financial management, decision and information, satisfaction with services, leadership. These were the sub-criteria attached to effectiveness. Then there were certain criteria attached to rule of law, like existence of legal framework, effectiveness of a legal framework, citizens' access to justice. This is very much important. We have n number of laws, but whether the citizens can access justice, that's a question. Access to justice is an important parameter which is determining good governance. So this has been actually attached to the rule of law parameter. Then incidence of corruption. Then under accountability, there are parameters like sub-criteria like transparency, checks and balances, then recourse, government's responsiveness, integrity, and so on. Then under participation, institutional framework, citizen engagement, civic engagement, and so on. Then under equity, legal framework, that is legal framework for bringing equity, then access to basic services, access to power, access to resources, then opportunity for livelihoods. So these were the sub-criteria attached to the universal parameters of good governance, universal criteria for good governance. So in this way, I would like to give a submission before the thinkers and practitioners of governance. That's in order to strengthen our administration, we should actually develop a uniform benchmark, uniform scale or uniform parameter. I think so far we did not have any particular scale for administrative literacy. And without such a scale, we are measuring the awareness of people. So there should be some universally applicable parameter, universally applicable measurement scale. Then only we will be able to get some comparison. Otherwise, if we are doing comparison, if we are making that comparison, the parameters will be different. Sometimes the result will be different. So we should think of, through these kinds of conferences, we should think of producing such an outcome, a universally applicable scale in order to measure the administrative literacy, or a universally applicable barometer in order to assess the degree of awareness on good governance, or in order to assess the degree of good governance. So in most of the universities, we can see topics related to good governance in the, in the scenario of research. Many people are interested in doing research with respect to good governance, but we don't have a common parameter, a common scale, a uniform scale for measuring such and such things. So this we need, in fact, because in order to make our discipline more scientific, we need a common parameter. In other disciplines, in other, science subjects, we have that common parameter. So without a common parameter, we are conducting research. So under this impression, under this observation that I am proposing a scale of administrative literacy, then I have given the good governance barometer that was implemented in Senegal. And after that, in many regions that was implemented. So we should look for some common parameter, whether it is administrative literacy or it is good governance, we should look for some common parameter. That's why I have focused on such an area. Then I have some suggestions in order to strengthen administrative literacy as well as good governance. So there is a need of popularizing administrative literacy for the successful implementation of good governance initiatives. There are n number of initiatives. Initiatives are coming day by day. We have to assess the impact of these initiatives. We have to assess the implementation of these good governance initiatives. it is not by assessing the number of initiatives. It should be by assessing the degree of awareness of the people related to these initiatives, because people are the beneficiaries of good governance initiatives. So from that stakeholder side, we have to focus on the assessment of good governance. So what we are doing is, in fact, we have good number of programs. We are counting the programs, and we are checking whether these programs have been completed within the stipulated time. So in that way, we are actually concentrating. Apart from that, to and fro assessment is needed, whether the people are receiving in the proper way, whether the people have awareness with respect to good governance initiatives. Is there any gap between the policies and their actual implementation? Whether these policies are reaching even the lowest stratum of the society, because development should be inclusive in nature. In order to have inclusive development, what we need is awareness. Informed citizenry is needed for inclusive development. Otherwise, people will be excluded. People will be excluded only because of lack of information. If they have information, they'll participate naturally. So under this concept that I am proposing that we have to strengthen administrative literacy for the successful implementation of good governance initiatives. Here, local self-government institutions can do a lot, because whenever there is a pandemic or there is a contagious disease in a region, in a locality, the local self-government institutions will be sometimes distributing pamphlets related to how to prevent such a illness, how to prevent such ailments, how to prevent contagious diseases like that. They'll be giving awareness. They will be conducting awareness campaigns. So in that way, what we can do, the local self-government institutions can distribute pamphlets related to the initiatives of good governance too. What is social auditing? Then what is Gram Sabha? What is the importance of Gram Sabha? We are actually studying these things in classrooms. Apart from classroom studies, we have to get some information directly from the local self-government institutions. See, when we are talking about the home workers, even those policies or those awareness campaigns should reach to the home workers. In which way we can reach to every household. So they can distribute some pamphlets with respect to the if a newer initiative is getting launched, the local self-government institution can distribute a pamphlet to every household related to this is the kind of initiative. These are the benefits of this particular initiative. So you will get these types of services from this particular initiative. This is a simple thing. When there is a contagious disease, we will do this. But in normal times too, we will have to disseminate information. So there should be proper dissemination of information related to governance initiatives. Then even school students can also be given some projects on identifying the local issues, and then these issues can be taken up for discussion, and we can ask the students for finding out the solutions. That I am doing in my classroom. Even though they are not school students, I am giving such an exercise in the classroom that they have to identify local issues, and we will together discuss these local issues, and together we will find out solution. If possible, we will contact the authorities. In that way, some exercises were given to my students. Successfully, they have done it. Then, as I said yesterday, incorporation of youth can also be sought for popularizing administrative literacy and good governance barometer. Because youth are actually active citizens. So we can make use of their energy to popularize these kinds of initiatives. Then one more thing we can do in order to disseminate information, in order to strengthen administrative literacy, in every household, the government can give a directory related to the local institutions, officials, and grievance redressal mechanisms. So they should be available at every household in the locality. So I would like to call it as a decentralized citizens charter. We can see citizens charter when we visit a government office. In the charter, the services are actually documented, which are the services that are available in that particular office. If there is any failure with respect to the service delivery, whom shall we approach? Everything is documented and displayed. So in every house, there should be a directory related to this. That is a directory consisting of the local institutions, their services, then who are the officials, then which are the grievance redressal mechanisms. In that way, we can create an informed citizenry in order to strengthen good governance. So these are some of my suggestions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, for the wonderful presentation. I believe that this presentation might have awakened a lot of thoughts in the minds of the listeners. And we will take the question and answer round in that session that is particularly dedicated for this purpose. In that session, the participants may ask their questions. I also have many questions in my mind, which I will be presenting before the speaker, Dr. Asha Lakshmi. So with the permission of the chair, I would like to invite the second presenter.
Please.
So the second presenter is Manas Ranjan Behra, Assistant Professor, Teacher Education in Political Science, UGCTE, Mayur Bhang, Odisha, India, and Dr. Rashri Datta, Assistant Professor of Political Science, Department of Social Science, FM University, Balasore, Odisha, India, on the topic Administration and Governance in Odisha, Reflection from 5T's Approach.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
And presenters, please keep the limitation of the time. You have 15 to 20 minutes. So please try to conclude your session, your presentation within the time. Thank you.
So is my screen sharing with all of you?
No, screen is not visible. Please share the screen.
Okay, sir. So is it share now?
Yes, now it is visible. You may please proceed.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm very much happy that I got an opportunity to take part in this event. So today I'm going to present my title of the research paper is Administration and Governance in Odisha, Reflection from 5T's Approach. So this paper is jointly prepared by me and my co-author, Dr. Rajesh Datta madam. So without wasting my time, I'm going to start it. So first thing is we know that governance refers to formulating the laws, policies, and acts, whereas the administration implements the laws and policies enacted by means of governance. Governance policies are meant for the common people of the society as well as for the nation. All the policies, rules, and laws that implemented by the government for the governance of the public are called as governance policies. Good governance aims at the welfare for the people. Also, good governance adds a normative or evaluative attribute to the process of governing. From a human rights perspective, it refers primarily to the process whereby public institutions conduct public affairs, manage public resources, and guarantee the realization of human rights. So let's talk about the administration and governance in Odisha. At the onset of the new millennium, when Odisha was experiencing a severe financial crisis, Sri Navin Patnaik, the Honorable Chief Minister of Odisha, led the government to power with a strong mandate. Through a stable, responsible, transparent, and people-oriented system of government, the state's finances have significantly improved and it has seen unheard of economic development that has ensured advancement in all areas. So there are such a few historic steps which are taken by the government of Odisha. I will explain it one by one. Firstly, food security. Basically, since August 2008, all KBK district, KBK here means Kalahandi, Balangir and Koraput district households and the state's BPL families have been protected by this historic food security program, which costs roughly 1,000 crore rupees annually. By doing this, 25 kg of rice at a cost of 2 rupees per kilo has been distributed to 55 lakh families approximately. Next one is the roads for every village. By the end of March 2012, provisions have been made for the construction of 5,000 km of village cement concrete roads with an investment of 1,000 crore rupees. Under Biju Setu Yojana, proposal to build 400 bridges at a cost of 1,000 rupees crores over 3 years was made. And the next one is social security. Under the Madhubabu Pension Yojana, more than 16 lakh elderly people in need, widows, people with disabilities, AIDS patients, and those who have recovered from leprosy received assistance. Rupees 40 crores was allocated by the state government to organize Bhim Bhui Samarthya Shivir in all blocks to provide all certificates, aids, medical treatment, and pension to persons with disabilities from a single window. Next one is women empowerment. Representation of women in 3-tier Panchayat election in Odisha enhanced from 33% to 50% through Mission Shakti. 170 block level women federations provided with 25 lakh rupees each as revolving fund. 2,62,000 women self-help groups included in Mission Shakti provided with rupees 5,000 each as seed money. The next one is women and child welfare. What we found that state government's own initiative, Mamata Yojana, implemented to provide partial wage compensation for pregnant and nursing mothers and to provide adequate rest delivery period. All children with the age group of 3 to 6 and attending Anganwadi centers of the state provided with dress and workbook under state's own program Arunima 2. Also, the Tripti scheme was implemented in 38 blocks of 10 coastal districts of the state for economic and overall social development of rural women members of self-help groups. And the electricity for all. So, more than 9,000 hamlets provided with electricity connection under Biju Grama Jyoti scheme. More than 113,000 BPL families provided with free electricity connection. Electrification of unelectrified villages or wards or slums in urban areas of the state being accelerated under Biju Saharanchal Vidyutkaran Yojana to achieve self-reliance in 320 megawatt thermal power as generated by OPGC and 2,000 megawatt by OPTCL. So next, basically to make the administration transparent and corruption free, Odisha is the first state in the country has made enactment to confiscate disproportionate assets of corrupt policies and program under by the state government of Odisha relating to the administration and governance of Odisha, which I will discuss one by one. Sir, my slide is visible or not?
Yes, it is visible.
Thank you, sir. So first one is the Renewable Energy Policy 2016. It aims to contribute to long-term energy security of the security by reduction in carbon emission and created skilled and semi-skilled manpower resources through promotion and technical and other related training facilities. The policy facilitates development of manufacturing units and research and development in the renewable energy sector. The next one is the Odisha Biotechnology Policy 2018. It aims at prioritizing the thrust areas for basic as well as applied development with industry, academia, social interface. The policy provides fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, marketing assistance, development of the sector. The next one is Odisha Aerospace and Defense Manufacturing Policy 2018. It aims to emerge as one of the leading and globally recognized aerospace and defense manufacturing hubs by utilizing the existing competitive ecosystem of the state. So, dedicated extension of fiscal and non-fiscal benefits and ensuring unmatched ease of doing business. The next one is the Odisha Food Processing Policy 2022. It aims to increase the flow of private sector investments across the value chain from farm gate to market. The policy provides fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, infrastructure development, skill development, and cluster approach. The policy also aims to the creation of the infrastructure by promoting the establishment of food processing parks and common infrastructure near the existing food processing clusters. Next one is Odisha IT Policy 2022. The vision of this policy is to transform Odisha into a leading destination for information technology in the country and position it prominently IT outstanding destination along with the quantum increase in the creation of employment opportunities, thereby contributing significantly to growth and development. Next one is Renewable Energy Policy 2022. Also, it aims to harness the renewable energy potential of Odisha and accelerate investment in the renewable energy sector for ensuring energy security, promoting socio-economic growth, and protecting the to accelerate adoption of clean energy alternatives and decarbonize the energy sector, which includes both grid-based electricity consumption and the captive consumption of industrial consumers in the state. The last one is Logistics Policy 2022. This policy envisions creating an integrated logistics ecosystem in Odisha to enhance competitiveness, operational efficiency, and sustainability, governance, transparency, quality, and disruptive technologies, thereby strengthening the state's position as a preferred destination for trade and commerce. Here comes the 5 T's approach. This is the main important chapter of this paper. First thing, what is 5 T's? So 5 T's propel Odisha's governance. They are transparency, teamwork, technology, and timeliness, leading. These are the 5 factors on which performance of government officials and projects are and will be judged. This is the pace that people want in their governance model. Transparency is the biggest power of a 5T program. Today, 5T is implemented across all public services in the state. The initiative is a forerunner to new schemes that integrate technology and outlook to deliver public services without hassles. The Navin Patnaik government adopted the 5T agenda in 2019 to transform governance in all departments by bringing about big transformational and institutional level changes and not incremental makeovers. There are several programs and initiatives which are come under 5T model. I would like to request my co-author Dr. Rajashi Datta madam. Please, madam, madam will explain it and also she will conclude it.
Thank you, Manas. Proceeding further, so 5T, as we know, it is a strong model for good governance, which was adopted in 2019. But before this 5T, there was a provision that we had 3T, and 3T stand for teamwork, transparency, and technology. But then there was a need was felt to have a 5T proposal. And why? Because it aimed to have a citizen-centric good governance. So as already discussed, 5T model stand for transparency, teamwork, and technology, which was already there. Addition was 2T, that was timelessness leading to transformation. The only idea which the government had in 2019 to bring about this 5T proposal is to have a citizen-centric good governance. When we talk about this 5T model, this doesn't aim to have an incremental makeover. Rather, it aims to bring a big transformation, institutional level changes. How we can see from the different example. For example, when the country was facing this COVID-19 crisis, during that time that 5T framework was used. For example, the registration system for foreign return ODIs, or the tie-up with the hotel for the quarantine facilities, relief distribution to the migrants, all were easily flowed down because of this 5T approach. Apart from this, there are different types of initiatives which have been undertaken under this program. For example, Mo Sarkar, my government. In that, the administration collects feedback from individuals who visit different government departments, hospitals or police stations, and then take appropriate measures according to the need. And this feedback system, there is a provision of feedback system that makes use of concrete empirical data on operational or decentralized performance. Now, this Mo Sarkar initiative is based on the Gandhian core. Now, Mahatma Gandhi strongly felt that people are the real master and minister as representatives of the people are their servants. So this 5T powered Mo Sarkar is to benefit the poorest and the weakest among us, who desperately require the state and its agents to work effectively for its benefit. And apart from this Mo Sarkar, we have Mo School Abhiyan or Mo College Abhiyan. Under this different initiative, the alumni connect to their respective schools and colleges, and they make contribution for the development of education, child development, different facilities are provided to the stakeholder participation, collaboration has been done. So this is a procedure by which we can connect to our alma mater. So therefore this 5T action plan, it uses the technological intervention, integrated team effort and transparent processes that within a limited timeline period. And also we have My Bus or Mo Bus service, where we provide, or this 5T approach, they provide a reliable and integrated public bus service with incorporated live tracking, e-ticketing, travel planning, along with a e-rickshaw system called as Mo E-Ride. Now, the thing is that this has reduced the pollution level to 30 to 50% approximately. And the interesting part is that 40% of Mo bus conductors are women, and 100% of almost 100% more e-ride drivers are women and transgender people, or the people who belong to the marginalized communities. And we see that this 5T approach aims at implementing the key attributes of good governance to the fullest possible extent. And the Niti Aayog has also endorsed this 5T's initiative of the Odisha government, which is basically launched to ensure transparency and to provide good governance. Now, apart from having a positive side, we also see different types of challenges. Manas, can you change the slide to the challenge part? So we see that different type of challenges that has been faced by this model, and we see that the opposition slammed the Odisha government for failure of this 5T's initiative, because recently in 2023 there was many dropout which was noticed in the school board examination. So how to control this school dropout ratio? You do not have adequate number of teachers, so therefore to certain extent this initiative has failed to answer the question. And then we see not much has been revealed about its implementation and accomplishment. So we do not know whether this 5T, it is a department or it is a office. There is a confusion whether it is launched to diminish the authority of other departments, it is a question. And thirdly, it is found that it is unnecessarily created a breach in the state bureaucracy and is undermining the efficiency of other departments. So therefore, we'd like to conclude here is that today this 5T is implemented across all public service in the state of Odisha. The initiative is a forerunner to new schemes that integrate technology as well as outlook to deliver public service without hassles. Now this initiative, this e-governance initiative, is included in different sectors, whether we talk of tourism or we talk of health, cyber security, investment, trade, etc. And this initiative has also made Odisha as one of the top destination for new investment. However, this model of governance is a focus on transformation towards a new and empowered Odisha, where how do we define new and empowered Odisha? Where for first thing, where poverty will be the thing of the past, where women will be equal partners in growth and development, the state which will be inclusive to all the vulnerable sections in its landscape of development, and lastly, where the dreams of the youth will come true. So here what we wanted to present under our paper, that is administration and governance in Odisha, reflection from 5T's approach. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Manas and Dr. Rashri Datta, for the wonderful presentation. I believe that there will be a lot of questions coming from the assessment to methodology. We want to know more about this 5T. And with the permission of the chair, sir, should I invite the other participant?
Yes, go ahead.
So with the permission of the chair, I invite Sakshi Sharma, Assistant Professor, School of Law, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun, Uttarakhand, India. She will be delivering on the topic Legislative Combat Against Cyber Harassment, a comparative legal study of the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, and India. Madam, the floor is all yours. You may begin your presentation.
Good evening, august audience. I apologize beforehand. There is some glitch, Wi-Fi glitch at my end. So if there is any issue while my delivery, I apologize for that beforehand. Let me share my screen. Saurabh, can you tell me if my screen is visible?
Yes, it is visible. You may please
The
proceed.
slideshow is visible?
Yes, it is visible.
All right, all right. Okay, so a brief introduction. I am an assistant professor at UPES, Dehradun, and my current study is a part of a bigger study that I am right now conducting, that is gendered cyber harassment. And in that aspect, I wanted to inquire into the various legislative instruments that various countries, various states have implemented in order to curb cyber harassment, and in particular, cyber harassment that happens against women. Now, in this study, I have tried to do a comparative legal study of the provisions that are there in United States, United Kingdom, New Zealand, and India. So now the scheme of the presentation would be, first, to determine what is the scope of cyber harassment. Second, the objective behind including only the gendered nature of this cyber harassment in this study. Third, the international soft law contributions as to how international law has contributed towards or has motivated certain states to develop their laws to fight against gendered cyber harassment. Then the legislative approach taken by the United States, United Kingdom, New Zealand, and India. And in the end, I would like to make a brief comparison and give certain suggestions. regarding this comparison. So first, at the very outset, I would like to say that cyber harassment, there is no uniformly or standardized definition that we know of cyber harassment. Various authors, while developing their scholarships, they have come up with different definitions, but there is no uniformity or a uniform consensus as to what cyber harassment is. There are different terms that are used interchangeably when we are talking about this issue: cyber harassment or cyber violence or cyber abuse, online harassment, etc. So these terms are interchangeably used, but for the purpose of this study, the author has decided that we are going to go with a common term that during the literature review, I found that this was the term that was most often referred by the authors. So cyber harassment, if we come to the definition, it includes engaging in an act or behavior that torments, annoys, terrorizes, offends, or threatens an individual via email, instant messages, or other means with the intention of harming that person. Now, if you carefully look at this definition, it does not specifically include what kind of harm are we talking about, whether it is economic harm or physical harm or emotional harm, right? So one can say that this definition in itself cannot be considered as a comprehensive definition. The second definition that I would like to include is given by the Council of Europe in its report in 2018. And here I would like to mention that they do not use the term cyber harassment, they use the term cyber technology facilitated cyber violence. So over here they say use of computer system to cause, facilitate, or threaten violence against individuals that result in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological, or economic harm or suffering, or may include the exploitation of the individual's circumstances, characteristics, or vulnerabilities. So if we compare the two definitions, we find that this is more of a comprehensive term where we have also included what kind of harm we are talking about and what acts are we covering over here. So these cyber stalking, online hate speech, revenge pornography, also revenge pornography, which comes under the ambit of non-consensual intimate image dissemination, cyberbullying, sextortion, cyber defamation, doxing. All these behaviors are certain aspects of harassing behaviors and can come under the umbrella term of cyber harassment. Now, we know that why do we need to look at the gendered aspect of cyber harassment? Why can't cyber harassment just be cyber harassment? Now, we know that with the advent of the internet, the era of internet, all of us are on cyberspace. Cyberspace has encroached upon major part of our lives. So the positives of the internet we all are aware of, but then there is a dark side as well. And that dark side manifests itself through various crimes. Now, there were certain crimes like stalking, extortion, harassment, threatening, intimidation, criminal intimidation. All these crimes, they were already there. These are the traditional crimes in the physical world. But with the advent of internet, they were able to modify themselves or modify their modus operandi to become even more exaggerated or have a magnified impact. And when we look at it from the gendered lens, we find that studies after studies show that cyber harassment greatly and in an exaggerated manner affect females as compared to males. And many authors, they have indicated that this is a systematic misogynistic force to keep women out of the public sphere, or to keep women out of the political sphere, or from empowerment, or gaining positions of power. So most of the societies today, even today, I should say even today, have have little flavors of patriarchy. And it is through, because of this patriarchal system, there is a systematic repressal of women. And one of such instrument is through cyber harassment. So in 2015 UN report, it reported that women are 27 times more likely to be victimized for online abuse as compared to men. Norton said in its study, the report said that 76 women, Australian women under the age of 30 reported, 76% Australian women reported to have faced online harassment. Then 52% of the women in another study experienced online abuse. There was a very recent study that happened in UK where it was reported that women are 29, 21% point more as likely to as men to likely cyber flashing, 15 points more, 15% point more likely to experience cyber stalking. So these are certain data points where we can see that even though cyber harassment can happen against either of the sexes, either of the gender, but the impact that it has on females and the misogynistic angle, if we add the misogynistic angle to it, it impacts females more as compared to males. And therefore, my study is focused on the misogynistic and the gendered perspective of it. So now when we talk about what are the international laws contribution, we find that there are only two laws, conventions that talk about cybercrime, right? I should come to that. That is Budapest Convention in 2001, and then Istanbul Convention on 2011. Now, Istanbul Convention does not specifically talk about cyber crimes, but it talks about prevention of violence against women and domestic violence, where later on, not in the text of the convention, but later on, they added that domestic violence and violence against women also include online violence against females. So now one would imagine that as this convention came into existence in the recent past, it got enforced in 2014, got adopted in 2011, and yet it was a lack on our part that we completely ignored the online aspect of violence against females, and we did not mention anything in the entire convention related to technology facilitated violence. It was later in the recommendation reports and the Griever reports that there was given an explanation that yes, violence also means online violence, but not in the text itself. Similarly, in the Budapest Convention that came in 2001, it specifically talks about cybercrime, and it categorizes different types of cybercrime, but fails to include or mention crimes that can, in today's world, are affecting females, and that too in a skewed ratio. It does not talk about cyber stalking. It does not talk about violation of privacy. It does not talk about doxing. It does not talk about non-consensual image distribution. Yes, it talks about child pornography. It talks about content relating to xenophobia, but it does not talk about the gendered aspect of all these crimes which can be inflicted against the females. Whereas these two conventions are the hard law conventions. The member states are mandated under these, but there is a failure on our part to include the gendered aspect of cyber harassment in these two hard law conventions. Whereas in the soft law, if you will see, the Secretary General of the United Nations in 2006 first recognized in their report that ICT can be potentially used to cause violence against women. It was back in 2006 that it was recognized in the report of the Secretary General. They also called upon the states to acknowledge that yes, this can happen through ICT, and therefore they need to evolve certain procedures that can be used to respond to these new forms. And I would like to mention here new forms of violence as they are recognized. Similarly, the Council of the Human Rights Council in its resolution said whatever is protected offline must also be protected online. All those rights of the females which are protected or supposed to be protected offline should be protected online as well. Similarly, there is a list of all these documents that talk about or that recommends, suggests the states to come up with certain legislative procedures which can be used by female victims to protect their human rights when it comes to cyberspace. Now, in order to see the effect of these recommendations, we need to go one by one through the legislations of the states. Now, when we talk about United States, uh, even though it is considered to be a progressive society, still we find that United States has staggering numbers of gendered cyber harassment or cyber harassment incidents against females. So, and if you would look into the literature, there is plethora of literature that is available from the authors coming from United States, and they give such poignant tales of the victims, such comments by the victims that give us a a picture of what kind of harassment is being faced by victims in the United States. So now, as United States has a federal structure, the laws we can find in the federal laws as well as at the state level. So at the federal level, we have two laws that can be used in order to prohibit, in order to prevent cyber harassment and to punish cyber harassment and cyber stalking. That is section 2261A(b), that talks about cyber harassment and cyber stalking. Now, it says any person who with the intention to kill, injure, harass, or intimidate another person via the use of mail, any interactive computer service, or electronic communication service, or electronic communication system, and places that person in a reasonable fear of the death of or serious bodily injury to a person, pet, service animal, emotional support animal, or a horse of that person, or causes, attempts to cause, or would be reasonably expected to cause substantial emotional distress to the person, shall be punishable with a fine or imprisonment. Now, if we look at it, cyber harassment in itself and cyber stalking in itself are two major offenses, crimes against women that can happen online. Yet, even though it penalizes these two acts, these two behaviors, the provision, the statute fails to mention the term cyber harassment and cyber stalking. It does not talk about, or it does not define what cyber harassment would entail or what cyber stalking would be. It does not use the terms cyber harassment and cyber stalking in the entire provision. So the implication of that, I would come to that later. The second one is section 875B of United States Code that talks about transmission of any threat to kidnap or injure or defame another person or property with the intention of extortion using interstate communication. Now, if we look at the if we look at the language that is used in both these terms, in the first provision, they have explicitly mentioned electronic communication service computer service, electronic communication system. Whereas in the second provision, they have only mentioned interstate communication. Interstate communication is any communication that transmits beyond a state's line boundaries. So over here, we can see that in the first provision, there is an explicit intention of the legislature to include cyber aspect of the act. Whereas in the second one, it is a plain provision, a non-amended provision that has not been amended, keeping in mind the cyber aspect of these acts. It is a plain provision that is used to curb or to prohibit the traditional crimes of extortion, the traditional crime of threatening somebody to kidnap or to defame, and through extension we are using it to prevent or to punish the online acts that are committed online. Then another piece of legislature that is there is the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act 2022. In this section 1412 gives a civil remedy, right of a civil action to a person whose intimate image has been disclosed without the permission or without the consent of the person. Now, it does not speak about a situation where the consent was initially given and then withdrawn. What happens in that situation where later on the consent is withdrawn and still the intimate image has been disseminated amongst the public? So it does not talk about that. Another thing that this provision does not deal with is right. So it only talks about the civil action that can be taken, not criminal action. So now we see that there is no criminal, the offense of revenge pornography or dissemination of intimate image is not a criminal offense, but only a civil remedy can be taken against this this action. Now, when we come to the state laws, 49 out of 50 states have statutes that specifically address cyber harassment or cyber stalking, not necessarily mentioning the terms in their statutes, but yes, they have 49 states out of 50, they have amended their already existing traditional laws to cater to cyber harassment and cyber stalking. It's not that they have come up with a consolidated set of laws or a consolidated statute that would talk about the plethora or the various forms of cyber harassment that I have mentioned before. It is just cyber stalking and cyber harassment. The statutes or the provisions, the laws, they do not talk about what doxing is. They do not talk about what cyber flashing is. They do not talk about what online harassment is. They do not talk about what online hate speech is. So here we see that the focus is only on cyber harassment taken as a whole term, as a very wide term. And we all know that when the term gets wider and wider, it waters down the impact of that term. So this is one of the criticism. The second is 48 states have criminalized or addressed non-consensual pornography, whereas Massachusetts does not have any law relating to it. And in Wyoming statute, they only talk about pornography related to minors and not relating to adults. Here, I would also like to say that Nebraska is one state where the traditional stalking laws and harassment laws are being applied for dealing with cyber stalking and cyber harassment.
Sakshi, sorry for the interruption, but please keep your presentation a little concise.
Right. Surely. So I'll briefly go through the rest. In United Kingdom also, we see that there are no specific, till date, there are no specific legislations dealing with or curbing cyber harassment or cyber stalking. There are isolated legislations which are used, which were used for traditional crimes. Now they have been extended to deal with cyber harassment and cyber stalking. For example, Protection from Harassment Act. So it includes traditional harassment, offline harassment, as well as it can be extended to deal with online harassment as well, but it does not talk about specifically cyber harassment or cyber stalking. Then Malicious Communication Act, again, it talks about offense of sending letters with the intent to cause distress or anxiety, another aspect of harassment, but nowhere does it mention online online angle of it. Then it also talks about electronic communication which are indecent and grossly offensive. Then the Communications Act talks about sending messages that are grossly offensive, indecent, sending false messages, etc. And then, yes, there is a Criminal Justice and Courts Act where there is a lone section 33 that talks about revenge pornography, not online image dissemination, but plain revenge pornography. It can be applied to offline revenge pornography or online revenge pornography as well. Now, here I would like to mention that there was in 2014, the House of Lords Communication Committee, they gave a report in which they recommended that there is absolutely no need of coming up with new laws to cater to these new offenses that have come up with the advent of the ICT revolution. They said that these offenses were criminalized before also, and we already have criminal laws that are present, that are in place, and therefore we do not need any new laws. But later on, in 2022, when I've already mentioned the report, the survey that was conducted by the Victims Commissioner, it was found that women have very dissatisfactory experiences when they go and report such online harassment happening against them with the police authorities, because most of them claim that the police authorities do not even know whether what they are facing is actually a crime or not, owing to the non-specification of the online aspect of that particular crime. So it was an eye-opening report, and therefore after that the Law Commission report said that yes, we need to have certain new offenses that need to be discussed, certain statutes that need to be put in place, and therefore there is this online harms bill that is in front of the parliament. But again, this bill is not referring to these specific offenses, cyber harassment, cyber stalking, doxing, etc., but it is more or less imposing a duty of care on the intermediaries, on the service providers, rather than creating new offenses, criminalizing offenses, punishing, giving punishments, etc., or trying to define for that matter. It is only focused around imposing duty of care to the service providers. Now in New Zealand, there is this Harmful Digital Communications Act 2015 that has taken a very novel approach towards dealing with this issue. It aims at addressing the online harassment and all the harmful digital communications that can happen online in order to provide a safe environment to the citizens of New Zealand. So there are two approaches. One, to deter, prevent, mitigate the harm caused by individuals by digital communication. And the second, provide victims of harmful digital communication with a quick and efficient means of redressal. So we could see this as a redressal, more of a redressal based or redressal centric statute, rather than something that is criminalizing or penalizing these acts. Like, for example, Section 6 gives us 10 principles of communication that one needs to keep in mind in order to make the internet a safe place. For example, I'll just cite a few: that you should not engage in indecent, you should not engage in dissemination of material that is indecent or obscene, or is used to harass an individual, or inciting or encouraging anyone to send a message to an individual for the purpose of causing harm to that individual. That is a term that we use for this kind of behavior is called cyber mobbing. So these are the 10 principles that they have mentioned that one needs to keep in mind. If there are acts that happen against you, including any of these acts, then you have an option to go to this authority, that is NetSafe. It is an independent, not-for-profit, non-governmental organization that is appointed as an appropriate agency under the statute. You can approach them, you can file a complaint at them. This NetSafe has the statutory power to investigate into the complaints, to file complaints, to assess complaints, to negotiate and mediate between the complainant parties. And in case you are not, the citizen is not satisfied with the outcome of the process, then they can approach the courts. So in this way, it has covered the redressal mechanism. They can ask for removal of such contentious matter from the online platforms. So now NetSafe, because it has a goodwill with all these networks, these platforms, it provides a quicker redressal for the people, so that they don't have to go through prolonged suffering because, or harassment because of the matter, the contentious matter still being up on those platforms. Now, when we talk about India, we have IPC, the traditional, same as the United Kingdom or United States. The traditional laws that we have in IPC have been somewhere amended or have been extended by the judiciary to include within their ambit crimes of cyber harassment and cyber stalking as well. Like, for example, section 354D of IPC talks about stalking, and then it was amended after the Criminal Amendment Act 2013. It was amended to also include internet and email and other forms of electronic communication. So it says whoever follows a person and contacts or attempts to contact such person to foster personal interaction repeatedly, despite a clear indication of disinterest by such person, or whoever monitors the use by a person of the internet, email, or any other form of electronic communication, or watches or spies on a person in a manner that results in a fear of violence or serious alarm or distress in the mind of such person, or interferes with the mental peace of such person, commits the offense of stalking. Now we see that even after the amendment, we have refrained from using the term cyber stalking in this. There is no mention of the term cyber stalking. So one would argue that if our statutes are not specifically using these terms for these crimes, for these offenses, how do we suppose for the general public to have a greater awareness regarding these laws or regarding these crimes? Most of the times, females or the population in general are not even aware of what kind of cyber victimization they have incurred, because there is no mention of these terms that can be more popularly recognized by the general population. Another thing to notice over here is that it is important for this section that the action of the perpetrator should have resulted in a fear of violence or serious alarm or distress in the mind of the victim. It does not suffice that the perpetrator intended to stalk the person. It also should lead to fear of violence or distress in the minds of the victim. Now, that is a difficult approach, or that is a faulty approach in my opinion, where if a person has committed a crime with the intention of a particular consequence, then that should be sufficient for putting the liability on that person, rather than to inspect whether the intended consequence happened or not. So the liability should not be based on whether it was able to achieve the consequence or not, but it should only be focused on what was the intent of the perpetrator, because the perpetrator is now being held liable for that act. Other than that, section 354A punishes offense of sexual harassment, not online sexual harassment, but sexual harassment. 54C criminalizes offense of voyeurism. 503 punishes criminal intimidation. 509 punishes insult to modesty of any women. 499, 500 defamation. None of these talk about specifically the cyber aspect of these behavior. Now, uh, we have the Information Technology Act 2000 that has a couple of provisions that deal with such cyber crimes. Even though it was the focus of the IT Act is basically to facilitate the electronic or the commercial side of the internet transactions, there are 2 or 3 sections that we can find which can be used for these behaviors, like section 67 that prohibits and punishes the transmission of any obscene content. But if we look at the jurisprudence of this section, we find that obscene content is looked at from the angle of the society and not from the gendered aspect. Then
Sakshi,
section 6. Yes. Okay. So I'll come to the conclusion. I'm sorry,
please,
I extended my time. Other than this, there was this Information Technology Rules 2021, but again, like the Online Harms Bill of the United Kingdom, this again imposes liability on the service providers, on the intermediaries, rather than coming up with consolidated statute relating to criminalizing these offenses. So in conclusion, I would like to say that after the inspection of all these legislations, I found that no legislation has focused on cyber harassment specifically from a gendered lens, even though there are cyber harassment or mentions of cyber harassment or certain provisions that deal with cyber stalking and cyber harassment, but there is no aspect that talks about the gendered aspect of it. Then I found that there are 2 approaches that are taken by the countries. One approach, that is the approach that is taken by the New Zealand government, where they have taken an initiative to come up with a consolidated statute that is totally focused on behaviors of harmful digital communication. And then there is another approach, that is a piecemeal amendment of laws approach, which has been taken by the United States or countries like India or United Kingdom for that matter, where they say that already there are existing laws and we need to just amend them to cater to the cyber crimes. Now, here also there is a continuum. On one end, there are countries like India and the United States where they are trying to amend, at least they are trying to amend the traditional laws. But then on the other end of the continuum is United Kingdom, where they until now, they believe that there is no need to even amend or even mention the cyber aspect of the traditional crimes, because they are broad enough to cover under their ambit all the things that happen even in the cyberspace. But they have failed to understand that the modalities of these crimes happening offline and online are very different. The evidentiary nature of these crimes are very different. The impact that it can accelerate at 1,000 times of rate when it comes to online, whereas if it is offline, it is more time consuming. The act itself is more time consuming. It requires more planning, it requires more resource it is more resource intensive. Rather, if we compare it with the crimes that happen online, they are much quick, they are borderless, they are the perpetrators most of the times manage to be anonymous, so it greatly aggravates the impact that it has on the victim. So there are certain suggestions which I would like to mention here, that even though if at this point we do not want to have a specifically gendered legislation that talks about different forms of cyber harassment, even if right now, if we want these laws to be gender neutral, still we can approach it from an angle where we can provide staggered penalties for the perpetrators who have committed these crimes against women. We can provide staggered penalties, a general penalty for somebody who has committed the crime against another male, and a specific penalty, a staggered penalty, an enhanced penalty if that kind of crime has happened against or has been perpetrated against a woman, much like when we talk about crimes that happen specifically against children. So we have a much enhanced penalty that is provided to that perpetrator. Another attempt that we need to make is to come up with a standardized cyber harassment terminologies, so that it raises the awareness levels of the general public, which would in turn help in greater reporting of these cyber harassments. And then the last one, much like New Zealand, we should also come up with civil remedies that would be able to provide the victims some sort of relief. We all know that the criminal process takes a lot of time, it is very resource intensive, but if we are talking about creating a procedure that provides them civil remedies at a very menial cost, it is cost effective, then greater number of female victims would come forward and would try to report the victimization that are being trivialized at this point of time. So with this, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sakshi, for delivering on a very contemporary issue. Indeed, the cybercrime and the cyber harassment, these are the contemporary issues before the public administration. With the permission of the chair, I would like to invite Professor Juan Antonio Guerre-Montes, Postgrad School University, Senor de Sipan, Pimentel, Peru. He will be talking on management of public policies and adaptation to climate change in Sanarachi Municipality, Lamas, Peru. I hope I am pronouncing it correct. Professor Juan, are you here?
Thank you very much, Dr. Chandra. Thank you for invitation for the first very interesting different researcher for the public administration around the world. Please share the workshop, please. Dr. Chandra, I shared just my PPT, my slide.
Sakshi, can you please turn off?
Yes,
your
I could do so. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Thank you. This is the project, the management, the public policies, education, climate change, and municipality Canarachi from Peru, Limes. This project is very interesting, the problem, the deforestation, animal deforestation on the jungle. But the administration, the public is a new law and the conservation, the biodiversity Amazonia from Peru. Look at the location. Well, location the project. We location the project in region San Martin. The region San Martin location the project. The project is the conservation the territory, the people, original people, the Amazonian. The conservation, but the limit is the deforestation, the preservation. What's in the project is the policy public education climate change, the fragile, the Amazonian, the biodiversity, the coordination, the local government, the point of the Kainarachi location in the town, the inside in the Amazonian, in Lamas. The community, the river Huachaga is the best in the Amazonian river. And the river and region and the borderline region Loreto, Iquitos, and region San Martin is the project. The dynamic adaptation climate change is the present and the main public policy measure for the protection and the vulnerably affected deforestation and the Amazon. The objective, the project, this chapter is establishing relationship between the public policy and adaptation climate change, the fragile area, the Amazonian, and the biodiversity and destroy the Kainarachi and province of the lands. But what introduction the project? The introduction of the project is the project, the development, the community, and project, the ecotourism, conservation, and researching in science with university and the Peru. For example, the visit the other university in Europe for the project with the community and the growth and development, the ecotourism and the science. The methodology design. Look at the picture. In the project, the picture and the community, the conservation, all aircraft, approximately the 200 aircraft, the conservation today. The woman, the community working in handicraft, working as the tourist guide, and working and the cooking, on the protection and the biodiversity, the waterfalls, the water, is the current for to tax money for the community and your family. Is the project, the conservation, what different universities, different institutions, the protection. What is the project? Is the project for either the project, the recommendation, the final of the project is establishing the environment policy, the dictation, and the climate and region San Martin. Region San Martin is very the jungle. And aiming to accelerate the benefits, the natural source and population and sustainability. On the other hand, review the other policies are regarding bioenergy. The region, the Amazonian, Peru, and the region Loreto is very interesting for and deforestation, the oil palm. The oil palm, the industry, and the Amazonian is oil palm is very deforestation. But now is all right, not deforestation for project the project, the development, project the community, project the whole, project the education for community. And topic is the ecotourism, the biodiversity. The look, the life science is very beautiful. Similar country and the India is very this is the project is for the project for study 3 years to study the project and the different community depending on the capacity or worker and the municipality, the Kainarachi. It resume the project, the policy, the adaptation in my country in Peru, region Lama, region Loreto, Dr. Saruba at the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Zuan, for creating time for us and for the wonderful presentation. We are also grateful to Dr. Camacho, Dr. Freddy Camacho, for participating. He is a special invitee and partner from Peru. Both of you, please stay with us up to the question and answer session. There will be a lot of participants who will be very eager to talk to you, to have.
Dr. Camacho especially invites back usual. Dr. Camacho, unas palabritas, por favor.
Can you please ask Dr. Camacho to turn on his video? It has been a long time. We have not seen him.
Dr. Camacho dice que si puede decir unas palabritas, unas palabras pequeñas. Dr. Camacho, ¿sí? ¿Escucha? Hello, Dr. Camacho.
Okay, with the permission of the chair, I wish to proceed.
Hello, good morning, Dr. Sodi. Hi, Dr. Sodi. Hi, Dr. Camacho. Greeting for you. I'm waiting here, Dr. Camacho is listening. Hi, Dr. Camacho. Come on, Dr. Camacho. Dr. Camacho, ¿le escuchan? ¿Puede practicar, Dr. Camacho? Hello.
Okay, Professor Zwan, we are proceeding with the next presenter. So I will request you to mute your mic and stay tuned with us. Okay, with the permission of the chair, I kindly invite Nikhil Madhusudan, PhD scholar, Department of Public Administration, SOSS, IGNOU. He will be delivering on the topic AI in law enforcement, exploring the impact, challenges, and ethical considerations in policing. Nikhil, please be concise and present your paper within the time limit. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have a slide to share, so I'll start sharing the slide. Oops. Just a minute.
Hola, hola, nos. Hola. Hola, hola.
Doctor Sarubas, está hablando el doctor Camacho.
Hola, hola.
Dr. Camacho, we will be talking to you after this presentation.
Okay, thank you. Good
Thank you.
morning.
Good morning.
Un abrazo muy fraterno, muy especial.
Dr.
Desde
Camacho is
Perú,
opening up for
Amazonas.
everybody.
Mil disculpas, la conectividad desde Amazonas, Perú, un poco difícil,
difficult
pero
for connection, internet in Peru, Amazonia.
sí, felicitaciones a the teacher Juan Garay. Un abrazo a este evento tan importante. Un cariño muy especial a toda la fraternidad Perú-Indian. Y esperamos hacer investigación en conjunto, investigación de gerencia social e investigación social
different social and Indian Peru
que pertenece y que pueda generar sobre todo
Dr. Zwan, we will be talking more to Dr. Freddy Camacho after this presentation. I am sorry for the interruption.
Doctor Camacho, un
After this
ratito
presentation.
va a dar su conferencia el doctor Nicky Matusan y
Okay,
Thank you.
Nikhil,
Yeah.
please present.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I have a disclaimer. In between, if my network gets disconnected, I need a minute or two to reconnect. That's the thing. So this is my topic, AI in law enforcement, exploring the impact, challenges, and ethical consideration in policing. So before I start the topic, I have to share two experiences, one is an experience and the other is something that I've read. So many years back, this is more than 10 years back. So me and my friend, we were traveling. He was smoking and riding a bike. So he was stopped by the traffic police and the police fined. I think it was back then 300. So he paid 300, but the challan that he got was only written 100 rupees. Okay, so I believe the 200 is for corruption. So that's case one. The other is with respect to e-challan that was introduced by Bangalore traffic police. That was in the news back then when it was introduced, because in the studies that revealed later on, public said that they were more confident when a technology, when they got e-challan, and rather than interacting with a human being, they were more confident of paying the fine, and they were okay paying the amount, and they were more confident with respect to technology. Having said that, I'm starting my topic, that is AI in law enforcement. So this is basically a definition of law enforcement that I got from Merriam-Webster dictionary. So it is essentially enforcing laws, investigating crimes, and making arrests. That is essentially what the police does in a democracy. And artificial intelligence, this is as per the IBM's webpage. I got this definition. It leverages computers and machines to mimic problem-solving and decision-making capabilities of human mind. More or less, mission intelligence is artificial intelligence. And I want all of you to notice the word mimic. Okay. Then this is Alan Turing. So he's considered one of the founders of artificial intelligence through one of the papers that he wrote, Computing Machinery and Intelligence. So generally, because of that, he's considered the father of computer science. And there is something called Turing test, which most of you might have heard. It is with respect to whether computers are having that human intelligence capabilities. So if a computer is able to fool a person into believing that it is a human being, it passed the Turing test. And recently, many of the systems are passing this Turing test, by the way. So that is one part. And if you personally ask my opinion, I believe that consciousness is far away, and there should be a new test to understand how far the artificial intelligence, their consciousness has evolved, rather than something that is there in 1950s. A new methodology should be there, and Turing test is not the criteria. That is my opinion. Having said that, I would like to highlight how AI is used in law enforcement. So the good part is they can quickly process large amounts of visuals and data. So in India, in the last few years, it has been evolving. And in, I think, 2022, there was a report on Bureau of Police Research and Development, BPRD. So they have brought out some data on it, and many of the states are adopting it. So in China, in US and all, it's more active for a few years now. The good part is it has been able to capture the crimes or people who did criminal activities. For example, in China, a thief or a person who committed a crime was caught from a stadium with assessing large amounts of faces and camera visuals. They were able to nab the criminal. So this is one good part about AI in law enforcement. Then there is something called predictive policing. Many of you might have read that using a set of past data, they will identify where the crime hotspots are, and it will be able to predict where futuristically where the crime can happen. So this is with respect to predictive policing, and Los Angeles Police Department was quite active in the news for adopting it. And recently they have also backtracked on this concept. I'll be talking about more about it. They've used agency Predpol to do this predictive policing. Then with respect to non-violent crimes and money laundering and such activity, it is more easier using AI because to predict. Usually, we all know that there is something called big data. Large amounts of data online are generated, but it is usually unstructured in nature. So unstructured data is very difficult for a human being, and it is equally difficult for a computer. It needs large amounts of computing power. But the good part with artificial intelligence is that it can use this unstructured data to make some data which is sensible in nature. That is the good part. Like I said, in a stadium of, like, say, 10,000, 20,000 people, it uses the visuals to come to a logical conclusion. So in law enforcement, we all know that a delayed justice is denied justice. That is where AI can play a picture. So Stack is something which was there also in the news. This is used by Uttar Pradesh Police Departments. Stack Technologies is a Gurugram-based agency. They were providing something called Trinedra. It's an AI-based application for Uttar Pradesh Police Department. Many of the states are having it, but I just highlighted this because UP police were in the news recently for handling a lot of criminals. Criminal mafia came down, and so because of that, I thought I would highlight this. So the good part is real-time information retrieval is happening, and gang identification is something which is very prominent because not only identifies the criminal, but also their associates active in different districts and parts of the states. It is possible using this AI. Like I said, it's real time. So now let's talk about some of the issues and challenges. Again, UP, there was a issue. So with respect to predictive policing in Lucknow, there was Mission Shakti program where the government installed a lot of cameras in different parts of that area, and they would assess the facial features of women. Based on that facial features, they would highlight whether the women are in distress or not. And if they are in distress, they would send information straight away to the data center where police will access the data, will get the data, and they will send a message to the concerned police department in a real-time manner, and they will come to the location. So it looks very nice from the outside, but if you notice, see, our face can change due to various reasons. It's not necessary that it has to remain the same. Maybe it could be a genuine reason, non-genuine reason, a family issue, all these issues. So without giving a consent, someone might be stalked. So the state stalking is different from an individual being stalked, individual stalking. When state itself is the perpetrator, it becomes difficult. So this is one issue. Then with respect to trust, like I just said, when it comes to technology, studies have proved that people are more okay. Like we are okay doing a transaction via ATM rather than interacting with a human being with money. So the trust component is also a little fishy. I'll give you an example which happened in Kerala. So back then in 2015, the police department gave an inquiry to the Keltron. Keltron is like an electronics PSU in the state of Kerala. So it's a G2G or government to government contract. So there was no tendering, it was given. But then the problem started when Keltron started doing some activities which could be construed as coming under corruption, because CVC, Central Vigilance Commission, as well as CAG highlighted the fact that they were giving very specific tablets. Like for instance, the police department wanted certain number of tablets for the police. So Keltron gave something like Panasonic so-and-so tablet, which is very specific, and hardly one agency was providing it. And without any tendering process, they got it. So this was highlighted by CAG saying that this can be construed as a corruption because there was no tendering process and there was only one player. So it should be something more of a broad criteria to tender, to get more players for tendering. And again, later on, when the cameras installation process were going on, again, the same thing happened. But then the ADGP of police department interfered, and he started giving more, broad-based criteria. And then they got a much better deal. Now, recently, AI cameras are being installed in the state, and they're also highlighted in the media, largely because what is state's duty essentially? It's to provide security, definitely. But if you see in traffic and all, does the state want people to follow the traffic rules, or is the state's duty to collect as much as money as possible? So from the nature of the way the state is behaving, it is as if they are more interested in collecting the revenue rather than bringing a cultural change in the traffic. People, they get fined in a real-time manner. They are not able to identify what went wrong. And yes, it can deter a lot of people, but there needs to be some sort of change. Then with respect to corruption also, I just highlighted. Then with respect to privacy, there is a problem. The data storage and all those things are a cause of concern. Who is getting access to it? Police, is there a third party involved? All those things when it comes to policing is opaque and not in the open. That is an issue. So the major findings are, see, many years back, I think this was in 2004, 2005, when Google was capturing the market, when people used to Google gorilla or chimpanzee, a picture of an African American used to come. A Black American used to come. So then studies were conducted why that was the case. And as per various studies, it was found out that the people behind the software where more than 80% were whites. Black representation was very minimal, and their bias got incorporated into the software. So this is something which most of us would not even have thought of. How can software be biased? So this happened. And if it is with respect to countries like India, where in US it's more like race is very visible. In India, it's caste, language, religion, many factors comes into picture, and the biases can be more a problematic one. That is one thing. There is also a study conducted by Hanny Farid. So he conducted a study where, for granting bails, a judge was replaced by algorithm, and it also found out the bias with respect to the Black inmates vis-a-vis the white inmates. So in his study, he found out that the false positive predict. So two criteria were taken, by the way. The first criteria was the safety assessment, and the second criteria was the risk factor. So in both these criteria, the Blacks were automatically targeted rather than the whites. So this is a classic case of bias. Then other interrelated laws. AI is not a standalone technology. It needs data to process. So we all know that the data protection law is still, it's not a law yet, it's a bill. It is being discussed. There are many such gaps in the laws. In India, we say a law takes 100 years to be formed and 200 years more to be taken back. In a similar fashion, technology is fast changing, but the laws which are slow to catch up, it needs to be there in place. Data protection law and various other laws need to be in place, which needs to highlight this. To bring AI more streamlined with the fundamental rights. Right to privacy is a fundamental right, by the way. So my conclusion is with respect to the disclosure of police data. It is not easy. Most of these things which I've told you are there either in the media or in the BPRD report. Sumoto disclosure by the police agency are far and few. They are mostly saying that it's in a pilot phase, or that is the major problem. Then objective criteria. See, facial recognition is very subjective in nature. But when I use the term traffic management also in between my talk. So traffic management is a little more easier. Like police can get a real-time data by saying red, big car. They can get a lot of data with respect to that. But other than that, when it comes to people of facial recognition, etc., there is a lot of compromises which is being made. So ideally, it should be done more towards the traffic side. A study has to be done and then rolled out to the public. Then innovative punishments, punitive, just fine. I don't think my friend stopped smoking, by the way, even though the police fine. So had there been a little more innovative ways, like making them go to the public, giving them some social work, etc., along with a small fine, and repeated offenders can be given a little more, a higher level degree of punishment. Those that innovative punishments need to be taken care of in the present generation. And yes, with respect to privacy, I also want to say, rather than AI, these days, I don't know how many of you have traveled in Delhi Metro. Our privacy is compromised when we all travel in Delhi Metro, because someone will be dancing or making videos, and whether we like it or not, we are being captured and put to the social media. So there should be laws handling all these factors as well. And AI can play a real-time role, provided it is regulations are in place. So with that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikhil, for the wonderful presentation. You have indeed touched a very sensitive and contemporary issue of the AI. In the past session also, we were discussing about the role of the AI in the changing world and how it can be implemented in a better way. ultimately benefiting the human beings. So with the permission of the chair, I would like to open the session for question and answers. This session is for everyone. The participants may ask questions to the paper presenters. If there are some questions, you please take the name of the presenter and then you ask the question.
Dr. Nikki. Hello,
Yes.
Dr. Nikki. Congratulations for your dissertation. Dr. Nikki, what is important the policy computer for the ethic and in different universities, the ethic policing in different universities. What important the ethic in university, Dr. Nikki?
Nikhil Madhusudan, Professor Zwan is asking a question. Professor Zwan, can you please repeat your question?
The importance of ethics.
Yes, the important the ethic and university.
University.
Yes.
Okay. Ethics is something related to the society. So I'll give you an example that is usually happening, a clash between globalization and pressing of societal values or moral policing. So in Valentine's Day, couples used to be sitting around, hanging around. Valentine's Day is there. But at the same time, some sort of people, I wouldn't use any names, maybe some Sena or something, people organize in the local level, and they would try to enforce their values on the couples, saying that this is right, this is wrong, you should do this, you should do that. So the ethics in policing also, like I say, if the rules and regulations are in place, then the societal morals will not be enforced on people. Like if a woman is walking past, they cannot voyeur, a police cannot voyeur or stalk that lady and what that person is doing unless and until that person gives consent.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
I would like to extend the question of Professor Zwan. How the AI implementation will ensure this ethics in policy?
The politics is very important and different planification for development in your land. For example, the policy, the environmental in the town, the country, and the biodiversity is very difficult. But the people need it. The people need the development, the economic, the production for the biodiversity. For example, fishing, the animal production, the different plant, the biodiversity. Now, the municipality say regulation, never deforestation, but production and social project, the policy design in your province and district in Amazonia, Región San Martín, Tarapoto, Región Loreto, Iquitos, Churimaguas, and Munichis. It's different in the practice. Okay, Dr. Saruba, back to you.
Thank you, Professor Zwan. More participants? Any questions from any paper presenters?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. So I have a question to Nikhil. So you have done you have dealt with a very relevant issue, and well, it is also well presented. But my concern is that when you are using a term predictive policy, okay, this predictive policy is a bit dangerous because it gives a lot of scope for surveillance for the state. And again, you look into historical data kind of things. If you are AI will use this historical data. So once a criminal is branded as always a criminal. And you look at the story of Tiananmen Square, how they suppressed the potential revolution. That was also using this surveillance tools, finding out this, this predictive policy kind of thing was done. So they have stopped this Jasmine revolution in that way. So I think that you have to be a bit careful when we talk about this kind of predictive policy. So what's your observation on that?
Sir, yes, I mentioned Los Angeles Police Department. So they were one of the first to incorporate predictive policing in their policing methodology. And in the initial stages, more or less, it was working fine until and unless they started moving around black and brown neighborhood. Non-white neighborhood was more targeted in their policing duties. And then people started complaining such that I think in the last year or this year, Los Angeles Police Department did away with predictive policing. So in that sense, your question is very relevant, and US has already done away with it. But the sad reality is in India, without considering this study, many of the states are rushing towards artificial intelligence. And like you said, like police is actually the element of power by politicians. When a few years back, when the government changed, they replaced the DGP. A spoil system is there throughout. In any state, whichever political party comes into power, they will replace most of the administrative machinery, especially police. And the chief minister usually handles the home portfolio in almost all the states, I believe. And the reason is that through this policing, they will try to enforce. So, so even in this AI, the problem is that AI can give data or things, but filing the case or putting sections, it's still a police function, and the police can dilute the sections or strengthen the sections, thereby causing more problems to the public or the people who are opposing the government. So policing in that sense is a little more problematic when AI is incorporated without checks and balances.
I have a query to the presentation by Manas Ranjan. There was a presentation on the growth of Odisha. So, Manas Ranjan, hello, are you there? Are you here?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have got a very large data establishing that Odisha is growing. This is the largest growing economy in India. Yes, I agree with you. When the national average is 66.8%, the growth of Odisha means it will be 88.5%. Well, we agree with that. But when you come to some other indicators like for example, you take the case of literacy. So they have one of the lowest literacy rate, particularly with regard to women. That is 50.97% female literacy. And again, when you look into regional disparities, when you check the growth data, I think we have also looked into the regional disparities. So Odisha is having that kind of issue. Overall, there is a big growth, but at the same time, in certain sectors like literacy or social indicators, well, the figure is not so well. And again, regional disparities also is not so bright. So what's your observation on that?
Yes, sir, it is very true that there is a very wide gap in rural-urban divide. But at the same time, when we speak of indicators like education and health, Odisha is like, we can say it is an emerging economy. Where once upon a time we called it as a poor economy, but now it has come up with its different policies and programs where we can see the people or sorry, the policies which aims at transparency, or we can say responsibility or accountability, participation and responsiveness, and it is caring about the needs of the people. So definitely in case of education, as you indicated, the state of Odisha, it is very well in school education, and dropout rates has been also decreased. And in case of higher education, we can say that still there is a or we can say that the vacancy or the post which we find in case of higher education, that is not filled proportionately. So the student teacher ratio, it is very low, we can say. However, the government is trying to look forward into different types of policies and programs, like we have this each one teach one program. It is very well been functioning in the state, and as I already told you, through this 5T initiative, there has been programs like my school, my college, my university, like initiative by which the alumni, they also connect to their alma maters and they make a contribution, keeping in view the need of the future education and development in case of syllabus, curriculum, etc.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, I have a question from Asha Lakshmi. Dr. Asha Lakshmi, are you here?
Yes, yes.
I found your presentation very nice. So I have some queries. I just want your opinion on that and a few clarification. First is that you said that you have conducted a pilot project. So who were the respondents in that pilot project?
See, I have conducted a mini survey among 50 respondents of Kudumbashree Mission. Kudumbashree Mission is a women empowerment. Kudumbashree program is a women empowerment program under the poverty eradication mission of the government of Kerala. So we have Kudumbashree workers across Kerala. I think lakhs of people are working, lakhs of women are working in Kudumbashree. So I have randomly chosen 50 among them in order to have an experimental study. It's a mini survey.
What is the role in the policy process? What is their role? Are they implementing agency or are they technical agency? What is their role in the policy process?
Actually, the mission is for eradicating poverty. And for that, under Kudumbashree, there are multiple programs like entrepreneurship development, then providing various skills with respect to women empowerment. So many programs are there in Kudumbashree. As I said earlier, as I said yesterday, during the lockdown period also, these people were very much active in actually providing community kitchen facilities to the society. So they are now part and parcel of Kerala society. So many programs are there under Kudumbashree. So many programs are there.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Yeah.
I have a small question from Sakshi Sharma. Sakshi, are you there? Sakshi, are you there?
Yes, Saurabh, I'm here.
I also found your paper very interesting. So I have a question from you. What methodology did you use to compare all these countries?
Right. So basically, it was a doctrinal method that I used. However, the literature that I referred to were the state acts and certain authored books and articles. And the objective behind selecting these countries for this comparative study was that first, all these countries, they belong to a common law system. Therefore, the comparative analysis would be facilitated because they have the same parameters. And secondly,
what method did you use to compare? You did the comparative analysis. What method did you use? You did a comparative analysis. So what was the method that you used?
So there were certain parameters that were used. For example, the inclusion of the term cyber, or inclusion of the term cyber harassment in the legislations, or the the degree of focus that was provided to the intent factor in that, and other than that, the specificity of the legislations that focused on the specific gendered aspect of the cyber harassment. These were the parameters that on which I did the comparative analysis of these statutes.
Okay, thank you, Sakshi. Any more questions from participants? I think there are no more questions. So with the permission of the chair, sir, should I proceed further?
Please.
Thank you, sir. So I humbly invite the chair of the session, Professor Prakash Chand, Professor and Chairperson, Center for the Study of Law and Governance, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, to deliver vote of thanks and his remarks as the chair. Sir, please share your remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Saurabh. It was really an enlightening session, and all the presenters really touched the new points and new outcomes in public administration. They really represented the theme, the new outcomes in public administration and policy research. The topic they have selected were really new and different, like strengthening administrative research through administrative literacy, 5Ts, approach to good governance, cyber harassment, adaptation to climate change, AI in law enforcement. So I congratulate to all the presenters for such choosing such an innovative and enlightening topic. Let me just make a summary of presenters one by one. Dr. Asha Lakshmi highlighted the strengthening administrative research through administrative literacy and good governance. I found her topic really very innovative because this is a kind of neglected area in public administration and public policy research. She highlighted the administrative role of administrative literacy in the successful implementation of public policies. She also conveyed how to access administrative literacy and how to promote administrative literacy. Then Manas Ranjan and Dr. Rajshri Datta talked about administration and governance in Odisha, reflections from 5Ts approach. And they highlighted how the government of Odisha is empowering, strengthening the administration, and promoting the welfare of people through 5T approach, and how this is transforming and empowering Odisha. The third speaker, Shakshi Sharma, talked about legislative combat against cyber harassment. She made a comparative study of 4 countries, US, UK, New Zealand, and India. And this is really a very good topic in terms of increasing role of media and the use of cyber and she has pointed out that how the cyber harassment should be seen through gender lenses, and she made a claim that not a single legislation has focused on cyber harassment, especially through gendered lenses. So her recommendation is that we need to see cyber harassment through a gender or gendered lenses. Then Juan Montes talked about management of public policies and adaptation to climate change in Kenerachi municipality of Peru. And he showed very beautiful pictures that how to manage public policies and how to protect how to adapt in order to the changing climate, in particular context of municipality in Peru. And the last speaker, presenter was Nikhil, and he gave a very educative lecture on AI in law enforcement, how the artificial intelligence is playing an important role in administration, but he also talked about the limitations of AI, and I liked his comment that we need to bring the cultural changes, behavioral changes, and to rectify the limitations of artificial intelligence. So I congratulate all the presenters for their enlightening slides, enlightening views, and it was really very fruitful and educative session for all of us. And this is from my side, Dr. Saurabh.
Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful that you created time for us. We are very grateful to you. So with the permission of the chair, I announce the formal conclusion of this session. In the informal part, Professor Zuan and Dr. Camacho are our special invitees. They were present at the time of the plenary session also. They are our partners from the Peru. So Dr. Zuan and Dr. Camacho would like to deliver a message to all of you. Dr. Zuan, you may speak now.
Okay. I'm waiting for Dr. Camacho. Dr. Camacho is Amazonia in Peru is very poor, the connection, the internet, because the mountain, small mountain, the rivers, the basin, the microphone. Dr. Sodi, hello, Dr. Sodi. Just calling. Okay. Right. Just calling just a moment, please. Ya, hable. ¿Puede hablar? Ahora sí, hable, escuchan. Sí, ahora sí le escuchan, doctor. Hable, doctor Sodi, doctor Prakash, doctor Saruba, le escuchan.
Un abrazo fraterno para el doctor Sodi, para el doctor. ¿Cómo está, doctor?
Le escuchan, doctor, le escuchan. Sí, le escuchan. Hable, por favor, hable fuerte.
¿Qué tal? Un abrazo.
Doctor Sodi, doctor Camacho, for you. Greeting one, greeting you, doctor Sodi. Everyone. Continúe.
Mejor déjalo para el miércoles.
Lo están escuchando, doctor, lo están escuchando.
Después de hacer una exposición respecto a Amazonas y a la Unibagua, doctor.
Doctor Charuba, Doctor Camacho say on Wednesday a presentation 8 a.m. a presentation for Unibagua and the project Amazonian, our home original people. Wednesday 8 a.m. in Peru. The presentation, your event. Okay, Doctor Charuba.
Okay, we will talk about it. After this conference, we will talk about it.
Okay, the project presentation, development social, desarrollo agua Huampi en Amazonia, Perú. Okay, doctor, ¿lo escucharon?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with the permission of the chair, I hereby conclude the session. Thank you everyone for joining, for giving your time. We had a wonderful session. Thank you, the chair and the co-chair and our partners. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. See you all.
Good morning from my
session.
country. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Tresori. Good morning, Teprado, Dr. Mana, Dr. Nikki, Dr. Daya. Good morning. Good morning, Asha Nikki. Good morning, Asha. Un abrazo. Good morning.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye to all.